Hi, it's Maija here, and today is my third channel anniversary, so I have been doing Booktube for 3 years. My first video was posted on July 14th, 2014, and it was my Booktubeathon TBR. So naturally I'm going to take part in Booktubeathon this year as well, since it's sort of my channel tradition. I haven't filmed my TBR yet, but I will do so and upload it closer to the readathon. But today I thought I'd celebrate by doing the TBR tag. I saw this tag on Katie's channel from Katie Loves to Read, and the question seemed like fun, so I decided to do it. Nobody actually tagged me. The creator of the tag is a perfection called Books, and it's a book blog, and I will link it down below. The first question is, how do you keep track of your TBR? And this is the boring answer: Goodreads and memory. I have my Goodreads to read shelf where I have pretty much all the books that I own and haven't read, and also it's a list where I put everything that I want to read that I think sound interesting even though I don't own them. And as far as my physical TBR, it is this shelf over here, and I just remember what's on it. The second question is your TBR mostly print or ebook? And I would say it's about 50-50. I have perhaps about 40 books on my physical TBR shelf and the same amount on my ebook reader, my Kindle. Even though I think currently it's a bit over that, since I just got the Hugo Voters packet not that long ago. Yeah, currently I have a bit more ebooks than physical books. And the next question is, how do you decide which book from your TBR to read next? And if it's books that I own, it's just by mood. I don't do TBRs for the books that I own, but then I reserve books, especially new releases from the library, that have a bit of a queue. When those reservations finally come to me, I will have to read them next. So my old TBR usually suffers and I read more library books. I have currently a couple of library books that I need to read, so I will have to read those first and only then read my own books. But my own books I decide on mood, and sometimes if I can't decide I will do a Twitter poll, but I think I have done a Twitter poll like twice ever. The fourth question is the book that's been on your TBR the longest, and that is definitely The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. This is a book that features Dracula, and I didn't want to read this before I've reread Dracula. I've read it when I was, I think, 14 or something, so I need to reread it, but I still haven't, so this has been stuck on my shelf. Then a book that you recently added to your TBR. If we are talking about my Goodreads TBR, that is The Girl from the Other Side by Nagabe. I have read the first volume and I added the second volume to my to be read. And out of books and not comics, I added Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. That one is a bit of an older release, a science fiction book with some horror elements. I just recently decided that maybe I am interested in it. After all, I thought I wasn't, but I added it there. Question 6 is a book in your TBR strictly because of its beautiful cover, and for this I chose The Lie Tree by Frances Hardinge. This is illustrated by Chris Riddell. I had to say that this isn't strictly on my TBR for the cover, but I do own it because of the cover. I wanted to read this book, and when I saw this beautiful edition at the bookstore, I decided to pick it up since it didn't actually cost much more than the English paperbacks there, and this is a hardcover. The seventh question is a bit of an odd one. It's a book on your TBR that you don't plan on reading, and I do plan to read everything on my TBR, but when I was thinking about this tag, I actually realized that I do have one book that I don't think I will ever read. This is a book that has survived a lot of the quellings of my bookshelf, so when I pick up books that I don't want anymore, I always hesitate on this one and then I keep it. But now when I was thinking about this tag, I finally realized that no, I'm not going to read it. And it is Supernatural Noir, edited by Ellen Datlow. And this is an anthology of stories with a noir theme. I think a lot of them are detective stories and stories along that vein. I picked this up from a library book sale because there was a short story by Caitlin R. Kiernan in it, and I haven't read anything else but that Kiernan story from this, and I didn't even like that story that much, so maybe it's finally time to let this book go. 8th question, an unpublished book on your TBR that you're excited for. The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin, obviously. Then a book on your TBR that basically everyone's read but you, and this is definitely The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Everyone's read this. Even my sister, who doesn't read that many books, has read this. The 10th question is a book on your TBR that everyone recommends to you, and people don't really recommend books to me. Not in real life and not on Booktube. A book that I've heard great things about and that Sam from Sam's Nonsense said that I might like since I like the Musketeers is Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. So that's on my TBR. And then I own The Night Circus, which I know is a lot of people's favorite book. No one has actually recommended it to me, but it's sort of an overall Booktube recommendation. Then a book on your TBR that you're dying to read. Now, if I was dying to read it, wouldn't I have somehow made myself read it already? But you know that's not the case most often. You have books that you really are excited about and do want to read, but somehow they got pushed to the side and you read other books instead. And one of those books for me is Musketeer Space by Tansy Rayner Roberts. I bought this ebook, which is a science fiction retelling of The Three Musketeers, which is one of my favorite books. And I actually thought that I would read it instantly after buying it, and I still haven't read it. And the 12th and final question is, how many books are on your Goodreads TBR shelf? And right now I have 177 books on my TBR shelf on Goodreads. I just realized that I forgot to put on my party hats. In every single anniversary video so far, so 2, I've had a party hat on. And since I don't have a new one for this year, I just put both of them on. So that was my 3rd year channel anniversary video and my TBR tag. I hope you liked it. Oh, I do tag some people. Who do I want to tag? I always forget to do this. I want to tag Kelsey from the Fancy Hat Lady Reads and Yamini from the Skeptical Reader. So that's where the tags, that's the video. My party hat is slowly sliding forward on my forehead, so bye for now.